welcome everybody to Let's All Feel Better. I'm Kalista Parrish.
I'm Liz Kiefer.
Yes, our Liz is going to be once again introducing us to something new this week, new to most of us, I'm going to guess. And I will be trying to represent the rest of us who don't know as much as Liz does. I'll try and ask all the questions that you may all be thinking in your heads and channel you, even though you won't be here in person. I'll picture what you might ask later on when you listen to this.
Or you are my best sounding board, for sure.
Well, that's why we're here, isn't it? That's our best move. Yes, well, welcome, and nice to see you, Liz.
It's good to see you too. You too. The last time we talked, we were working with the 4 characters.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, and we discussed that in the character huddle, and the episode is who's driving this bus. I think who's driving the bus. Yes, and so it is our first episode of the second season, this being our second episode of the second season. And so if you need more in-depth into this after hearing some of these tales, you can go back and listen to the first episode again or for the very first time. So Liz, you had an experience that brought this into focus for you.
I have a follow-up to it because I thought, oh my gosh, it's the 4 characters. Right? So the brain has the 4 characters. I'll just really quickly
please do.
Character 1 is control, character 2 is fear, character 3 is joy, and creativity, and character 4 is connection to the eternal, whatever you want to call it, source, goddess, nature, but that more of that stillness. So, and all this, so you have the 4 different parts of the brain. So here's what happened to me, because I was in a play festival, or I was acting on stage, live on stage. In our local
theater. Exciting after all this.
I know, it was so much fun, but it was outside because COVID, and it's outside beside a train station. So trains, lots of distraction. But anyway,
trains, and it's across from a military installation. I've been teaching and also did the storytelling thing on the said stage. And not just the trains, but there are plenty of audio distractions, if not.
Which is what happened. I performed 3 weekends in a row. And the first weekend was great. And it was a competition too, where the audience had to vote and move you forward or not. So the second weekend we come, but it's a completely different circumstance. Now it's at night instead of during the day. So they have these lights that are added, obviously, and there was no rehearsal for it ahead of time. But anyway,
no tech run through, no.
Yeah. There we just triage, go. But the deal was, it's a comedy or it's a dramedy. It was a really heartfelt piece by Alice Junkel. Shout out to Alice. And it's called Beam Up the Clowns. And I was a clown with a red nose and the whole 9 yards.
She was.
But anyway, it was a heartfelt mother-daughter journey. But laughs were part of it. I am playing a clown. And the audience was very distracted when we first came on, because there was a delivery truck, decided to come in going dee 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 dee, it was just crazy. And then lights blaring in my face. You didn't really catch the entrances, and there were circumstances that if were not the best. And I could feel from the very beginning, like, this audience is not really 100% here, because there was distractions. And this is where I fell into this actor trap, which is not very pleasant. And for any of you actors out there, this is like the worst thing that you can have happen. But I suddenly was pulled out of my body and I was watching myself act. I basically was like, uh-oh, no one's laughing, one of those just terrible things. And it was really uncomfortable, like dead silence. And then the more that happened, the more I pushed, the more I was like, well, I better fix this. I better fix it now. And, it
I
ended
think
up
I
being,
see someone's ugly head rearing up.
yes. So I'm just going to let you know what the circumstance was. So I ended up doing it, not feeling good about myself at all. Because I'm like going, wow, I didn't really feel like I was connected to myself and there. And I'm sure the audience hated it. And although we were moved on, we did get voted in. So this was an internal war that was going on in my head. So so what I did after the first 24 hours of just wanting to like quit acting and never do it ever again, because it's like, I'm never showing up on stage again. I went, wait a second, what happened? Oh, let's look at the 4 characters. So what happened was my number one, my Hermione, inner Hermione that I have that takes care, that controls everything, is gonna fix it, man, completely took over. Probably from the first time that there was a decision that this audience isn't with you. So I'm grabbing the mic and I'm gonna take over. And the consequences were the emotional part of me was strangled because there was no connection to my emotions, because control, little Miss General was controlling and taking over. And then the joyful, creative, Judy Holiday that I have was basically sent out of the room. Like you're locked into a closet.
She got on one of those trains and
she got on a train and she left. She's like, oh, this is no fun. I'm gone. So I kind of understood that. I went, that's what happened. I just was hijacked completely by that number one character, control. So I said, okay, Liz, what are you going to do about this? And I had my little brain huddle, because this is what we talked about, right? And so let's walk the walk, talk the talk. And because we had another show to do the next weekend, and I was starting to, all the dirty pain stories were going into my head about every terrible thing I've ever done with acting, and I'll never do it again. And so I was in the past, I was in the present. I mean, I'm sorry, I was in past horror stories and I was in future horror stories, anywhere but
not in the present. Yeah,
in the present. And I made a deal. We had a brain huddle, and I made a deal with my Hermione and said, would you please just soften, just pull up a chair, get me to the theater on time, get the proper outfit on, but I'm going to ask you to let go of this. And we're going to let 3 do this next performance. And I got a yes to that. I got a, well, we'll see, but all right, I'll give it a shot type of thing.
Well,
and
perhaps she felt heard, though.
She felt heard. She felt heard, and which is everything, because I thanked her for, I know that you want to fix, but we basically, like, I want to have fun. So I just made a different intention, and everybody eventually agreed, got on board. And by the time I got to the performance the following week, I was over it. And this procedure helped me stop the spiral going down those dirty pain stories that were going to lead me to horror, like dress rehearsing for disaster, and just showing me the examples of every time I've messed up as an actor, like, see, here's evidence. So I was really grateful. I was really grateful for this, because it shut that down before it could take over my entire week. And then I started laughing at myself, which is always a good sign. So I just wanted to share that. That's how I used it. The brain huddle happened, and it was decided that number 3, character 3, the joy, creative, Pigpen, I'm just going to go out there and have fun, got to lead the way.
Yeah, which is, very appropriate for the piece. But but that's just terrific. That was definitely, I think, your goal in that. And I want to say it also, thank you so much for sharing that with us. And why I encouraged you to share that with us is that I think that it's important for those of us who are getting this information from you, that we can also see that it doesn't just come to you naturally, that that you have to also put in the work too, and that when you do, it really can have tremendous results.
It was worth it.
Yeah.
After a few sleepless nights and beating myself up, which is the next thing I want to talk about, it was so worth it to sit down and just listen and to realize what happened. But having that knowledge of, oh, wait a second, it was just a part of me that came and hijacked the performance.
Yeah.
Woo!
Oh, is that all?
So this leads me to what I wanted to share and what we've been talking about off camera.
Well, Liz has been talking about for about a year now, I have to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This whole past year, I've been doing this deep dive into self-belief coaching. And I literally have been certified in this whole methodology. And I'm going to attempt to explain what this is in a very brief way, which we can
kind of general.
I'm going to give you the umbrella of
it.
Exactly.
The umbrella synopsis of it. And to put this into our lexicon so that, again, as we did with the 4 characters, that then as we move on into the season, we can start to be able to refer back to these things and be able to unpack them a little deeper, if you will. But yes, so yeah, strap yourself in.
It's a hacking, like that 4 character thing really hacked. Talk about hacking into my creativity. That was my hack. I allowed the creativity to come out and play. And it was just because I got permission from all the parts of me, the 4 different areas. So these are really, really helpful. So the Self-Belief Coaching Academy, I'm going to talk about this for a second. And it's created and developed by a mentor of mine and really good friend. Her name is Sass Petherick. And she's, has a master's in coaching, mentoring, and she did her dissertation on the experience of self-doubt. So she's very much a scientist. And so we were a good pair because I brought my non-scientist brain to her. And
your woo.
She helped me. My woo. But anyway, this all started with the topic of self-doubt. What is self-doubt and what is self-belief? Because I used to think, prior to all of this training, that it was one or the other. You were either feeling self-belief, like you believed in yourself, or I'm in self-doubt. Get rid of it. And it usually was because of an external circumstance that happened and that something made me feel good about myself and somebody approved of me. And so now I'm feeling self-belief, but it was always based on something external and I'm reacting to it, as opposed to what I have discovered is that there's a way to cultivate it, that in just as the 4 characters were like 4 different parts of the brain. Well, first I want to talk about what self-belief actually constitutes and what it is. And it really does draw on 4 different areas of this inner compass of inner resources. And each of these areas, it's literally a compass, like a north, south, east, west, 4 different directions.
Show it to you in a second.
Yeah, and each one
those of you watching,
has an archetype that is basically a character that embodies the qualities of each of these directions. So, what are they? First, we have your sovereign. Here, which is your inner queen. That's your inner leadership. That is.
Why don't we show it to them as you're talking?
Oh,
okay.
Oh, okay. Okay. I'll show it to you. If for those of you watching.
So
there's your self-belief, which is the sovereign, which is your queen or king, whatever it is. It's the leader. It's being the leader of your life. It means you are the part of you that creates the vision of your life, that creates the rules. It really is the queen. I love the queen as the archetype. And then you move over to self-acceptance. And that is the self-love, self-compassion, its connection to you, your feelings. And the archetype is that of the lover. So it's very young and adventuresome, and that beginner's mind, that you have so much compassion for yourself for not knowing. It's okay to not know. It's because you are connected to just learning and being open. So self-acceptance is key, because it's also self-compassion. That's in that, and self-forgiveness, which is the only way through. All right. So then we move down to the south part of this compass, and that archetype is the warrior, and that is what constitutes our self-worth. So the warrior is all about taking up space. It's about advocating, taking action, adhering, creating the boundaries. So, well, actually, the queen creates the boundaries, decides what the boundaries are. The warrior inside of you, the inner warrior, makes sure that they
establish. Yeah, exactly. The queen establishes them, but the warrior protects them. The warrior makes those boundaries. So
the warrior the warrior has the hard conversations and makes the emails and says no, in service of your queen, who has laid out the vision and the rules. So warrior is important and develops self-worth. Then you move up to the sage, which is self-trust. And that's all wisdom, discernment, trusting your intuition, understanding that you have choice and you can have perspective. So the sage is very, very important. The queen relies on the sage to make decisions, and she relies on the warrior to take action. And the lover is being connected to your body and what you're actually feeling. And they're all, you can draw on all different four areas. And I used to think it was just one thing, but now it's like, oh no, and everybody's going to have stronger, alliances with one or two. Like, I think my sage is pretty connected, but my warrior man is afraid to take action sometimes. Well, and it's because my queen hasn't made the rule 100%. Nah, not 100%. So it's a very interesting, they're a system and they all work together. But when they're all online and all in balance and all helping each other and in service to each other, that's when you'd say you're in your healthy adult self, and you can self-belief. That's where you're filled with self-confidence, self-belief. And
I do think it's interesting though, too, just as an aside, as I like to do, with the four characters also being developed by a scientist.
Yeah.
And these four, that, what I mean, it kind of makes you start believing like there's definitely something, concrete here, that it's not just the woo, it's not just how we're thinking, it's how our brain works.
Right.
How our brain and our heart and all that, but it's how our brains work is it manifests itself in these different ways. I mean, kind of in four sections.
and this is years of her studying thousands of people. And well, what happens when you're in the zone? What's happening? Oh, I have self-trust, I have self-compassion, I have self-worth, I have all these things, really. So, which leads me to what happens when you're not in that zone, right? And when self-doubt comes in, and suddenly I'm not feeling it, and now I have all these, what this modality calls protectors. So self-doubt is, and then you can do the next chart on this one, because self-doubt is basically the 4 faces of what is called your protector. And so for each archetype, there's a shadow side. So when it's out of balance and it's working too hard, for instance, the queen, the sovereign, when the sovereign is out of balance in its shadow side, what comes up, and when you're in like a self-doubt takes over and you're in a protective kind of energy, your protector self comes out because it's afraid to show up. It's afraid you're going to risk being humiliated or rejected or disappoint somebody. So
it tells you you're no good before anyone else can tell you you're no good.
That's right. So it's the critic. The critic is everybody has their inner critic. You all hear about this one. So this one is specific to that queen energy. When the queen energy is off, the critic comes out, and then it's going to tell you you're not enough, and then lead you to overperforming, overdoing, over perfectionism, people pleasing. A lot of people understand what that is. So that's for me is like my Hermione character 1. It is the critic for me. So when you move over to the lover, the shadow side of that is the martyr. And the martyr is all about overgiving. Basically, I need to be needed. Other people's opinions are more important than mine, and I'll do whatever it takes. That's where you get into your performative type of behavior and strategies of just people please. I will placate you. I will
make people like me. I know how to make people like me.
Yeah, I'll be exactly what you need me to be, and then that way I'll be safe, and I won't have to expose what's my truth is, because that's too scary. So the martyr is, that's my particular go-to flavor. I'm like, oh, martyr. I'm good with that one. I am definitely
like, oh no, I'll make sure you can't dislike me, which is my biggest fear. So I'm just gonna be anything that you want me to be, which is completely not authentic. I'm just going to be whatever it is that makes you like me. And that's it.
So, but its job is to protect you. That's what the key is, which I'll get into. But let me do the other ones first. Down to the warrior, its shadow when it's in your protective self would be called the scapegoat. And that's the victim energy. That's I'm just on overwhelm. It's too complicated. I can't do it. The whine immediately comes out. And basically the job there, the protective aim there is don't try. Just no. And you feel helpless. It gets a little chaotic. There's a lot of shame in there because you just don't take action. It's a very underperforming.
I'm that too, but
everybody has all of these, by the way.
No, I know.
Nobody's just one.
The stronger ones, yeah.
And they join. They have alliances. Okay. This is where it gets crazy.
Okay, sorry.
So its fear is being, the core behavior for that scapegoat is to be overwhelmed, dependent, unable to solve problems. So if a technical issue comes in my world, I go to scapegoat. I can't do it. I'm immediately, I can't figure this out, there's a part of me that comes in and says, don't even try. Don't figure out this new program to the computer. Just pay somebody. And instead of sitting down and going, what would my warrior do? What would my queen do? What would my healthy adult self say? Have a little
tends to be is that, oh, well, if you're going to do this, that's challenging. Well, you know what, that you really should have done this, and that really you should do this and that you really should, well, if you're going to do that, then you really should do this. And so that's where the overwhelm comes, where you're just like, okay, I can't solve this problem because to solve this problem, I have to solve these other 18,000 problems.
Right. So really good excuse not to do anything. So this is where procrastination
What, you expect me to solve 18,000 problems? No. So I just can't do anything. I can't do it.
So this is mostly procrastination. It's one of our P words. Shows up when this type of protective behavior shows up. And then the last one, which is the shadow of the sage, is the bystander. And that is overthinking. That's a protector that says, no, just wait until you get more information. It's the magical thinking. When you get that next, certification, that next degree, then you'll be ready, or when you move into that city, then you'll be happy. There's always a carrot that's much further down the line. And so it's basically, it says, just wait. And so for me, when I'm feeling overwhelmed by my bystander, by my warrior, I know there's a lot of confusion, but when I'm feeling overwhelmed, I can't do this. The bystander comes in to seal the deal and says, right, see, you can't do it. Wait until you can. And then I have total permission to not do anything and to not take any kind of risk in order to show up in an authentic way. It just, it gives me good excuses. So I threw a whole bunch of information out to you, but
I do recommend that if you are listening to this, if you're listening to us as the podcast that we are, we do have our own YouTube channel, of course, Let's All Feel Better. And I personally, I'm a visual learner, as we know, but the visuals for this one really helped me. No offense to Liz in any way, that she's describing it as best as she can. As best as I can imagine it being described. It is a lot there, though. There's a lot there.
It's just the surface.
Yeah.
And if you take away one thing today, it's that when these strategies show up of self-doubt, when self-doubt shows up and suddenly you're procrastinating, or you find yourself like just being a perfectionist and you just can't move forward. And any of these strategies, people pleasing, placating, paralysis, just can't do anything. They're all here for a reason, and they're all here to actually help. They're helping.
That's something that I really liked.
They're not here to sabotage you.
Yeah.
They're here to make sure you don't show up, because if you show up, you might get hurt. And they're just trying to protect you from being hurt. So in most coaching, things, or modalities that I had worked with before, everything was always working with the behavior. Let's work with that procrastination. Let's work with that paralysis. And the key to this is to just go, oh, that's just natural. That makes sense that you would have procrastination. And that's your protector doing a really good job of making sure you don't take any action. And the idea is to get into uncovering what's underneath that. Why? What's the protective belief? What is it afraid of? Like, if I put myself out there online and really say what I think about my coaching and what I believe to be true, I might disappoint people.
Right.
Maybe they won't like what I have to say, and people might get mad at me, and then I wouldn't be, maybe I wouldn't be needed, or maybe I wouldn't be, whatever the psychological risk might be. Usually,
and if I don't put myself out there, then I can't fail. Right.
Yeah.
So that's the other one, right? So I love this concept, this kind of protective instinct of, oh well, gosh, I don't want you to fail and be embarrassed and have people, think you're not worthy. So why don't we just not do that? Let's just not do that. That way we won't fail. Hey, look, we figured
and then
it
it feels good in the moment. You actually get a dopamine hit in the moment, because
you're
you
like,
go,
I figured it out. I figured out what to do.
I dodged that bullet. But then what happens because you didn't take action, and action is what cultivates self-worth. And so what happens is then the critic comes out and starts beating you up. Critic comes out and goes, again, look at you sitting on the couch. And then you have the inner dialogue where it's just the little protectors are all having a little family feud, and they're all they're all having a voice. And once again, it's all about listening to them. It's all about turning around and having a conversation and going, okay, what exactly are you afraid of? And
confronting them.
yeah. So there's so much more to this. This is just a lot of information that to skim the surface.
And we're going to let you settle in with that for a little bit. We're going to allow you to think of these things. And as I say again, I really feel like the visual aids in this one are extremely helpful. As we're naming the characters in that exercise and the 4 characters. I mean, that was kind of a way to bring it home, if you will, to at least to me. It worked.
And both of these ideas, modalities, ways of having a relationship with your protective self and your healthy self, I love that it's just about characters. It's about, you have all these inner resources. You have an inner queen, you have an inner warrior, you have an inner lover, you have an inner sage. You can call upon them and have these huddles and this conversation and say, well, wait a second. Let's have some, like I proved to when I did the second week of my performance, it was evidence that if you let this creativity and joy come out and lead the way and play, like it all flows. Everybody stays in their rightful role and nobody's working really hard to take over. Everybody's kind of playing nicely together. And then it's evidence that, oh wait, I think I can trust that. And then you bring in self-trust, and it builds self-belief like it's a slow build where you just keep having little experiments and you keep showing yourself like, I'm still alive. I'm still safe after I put myself out there, or I allowed another part of myself to take over. Anyway, I'm a big believer in this.
Heard and listened to and all of that. So yes, so that's a lot to digest, if we will. So we're going to leave it here for the moment. But as I say, kind of why we wanted to start approaching these things early on in the season is so that we can have this in our lexicon, so that we can have this in our toolkit, so that then we can use it to fix some things, to solve some of our
hack into
dilemmas.
Your piece. I'm just about anything. Give me any tool that will stop the madness, stop the painful stories that go on in my head. If I can have an inner conversation with another part of myself to come in there and offer some wisdom and some compassion.
It's not just the usual self-doubt and fear.
It all, and I can move forward. My life has really changed this past year from doing this work. And it was a slow build. It wasn't this big aha. It was just slowly learning to have more trust, learning to have more compassion, learning to have more worth, and being and stepping into my queen, stepping into being a leader in my life. I was very used to being a supporting player, and I've had to learn to be my queen. And so I think it's all very valuable information for people, because you all have it in you.
I agree completely.
Thank you for listening to this.
Thank you for listening, and we hope we haven't turned it into too much overwhelm for you. But as I say, you can listen back again and unpack them and pause and think, and
it's okay if we have, even if you have gone on overwhelm.
Yes,
it's okay.
It's a lot to process. process. So I feel like I'm still processing this, and I heard this originally.
I know we've been
6
talking about
months
this
ago
a
or
lot.
so. I definitely still have a lot that I'm trying to get to, but I feel like even in my small ways that I definitely feel like I've started in little bits to incorporate this and go, oh, and for me, it's been finding a way to be less angry with myself when I see them as protectors.
Oh, that's everything.
Yeah. So that when, they're protecting me, they're not sabotaging me.
Right.
Just that for me was like, oh, I got little truth bumps just saying that, yeah. That, okay. So it's not as angry and animositous with myself.
And there's a reason they're there. They have very good intentions, all these little protectors. Now I have such compassion for all my protectors.
Yes, exactly. Instead of feeling like they're sabotaging me and that I'm angry with them and that I've got to overcome them and I've got to fight against them. No, we're all here in benefit of me. Yeah. So, okay. We just got to figure out what's the best way to do this. Yeah, exactly. Oh, okay. I hear you. Yes, that was good. You were trying to protect me from that, but that's okay. I don't need to be protected from that, and I think there's something really strong in there. So we will do more of this as the months progress. But as always, thank you so much, Liz, for guiding us in this wonderful journey into ourselves and into self-belief and self-doubt. Two sides of the same coin.
Yep.
And we hope it can help you all feel better.
Thanks.
And as always, you can, as I said, follow us on our YouTube channel. Let's All Feel Better, and on Facebook and Instagram, also at Let's All Feel Better. So thanks as always for giving us some of your time. Bye now.
Bye.
Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Let's All Feel Better.
And watch us on our YouTube channel. You guessed it, Let's All Feel Better.